I'm so excited to be up here with Mary, Stuart, and Laura, and we're going to be talking about impact investing in more of the arts and creative spaces. I'm going to start by just opening it up to them to tell us about their projects that they've been working on, and give us kind of the big picture of how it fits into the creative economy.
So Upstart CoLab is connecting impact investing to the creative economy through what we call a creativity lens. I know most of the folks here will know what impact investing is. It's when you're investing with a loan or buying equity in a company, and you're trying to both make a financial return and do something socially positive, have a social return. So it's not a grant, it's not a gift, it's not a Kickstarter campaign, it's a proper investment, but it's with more than just a money-making goal. The creative economy, the way we define it, is broad and inclusive, and it has sustainable food, ethical fashion, social impact media, graphic design, industrial design, architecture, as well as things people think about connected to arts and culture, like dance and theater and film and TV and music and publishing. So although the creative economy in the United States is more than 4% of our GDP, it's $730 billion. When the Global Impact Investing Network talks about where impact capital is flowing, it's not going to the creative economy. It's going to other things that we care about, like microfinance and preserving the environment and fair labor. And those are all important things. But you can actually accomplish those same social impact goals by investing for impact in the creative economy.
And so can you tell us about how your projects fits in with that, what you guys are doing?
Sure, absolutely. So we're borrowing from our friends who are real pioneers around gender lens investing that helped people think about how to support women and girls through impact investing. And we asked them what was their playbook to take this important concept around women and girls and bring it to impact investing in a really short, 5-6 year time frame. And they said it was a 3-step playbook. The first thing is to build the case. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do, is frame the argument about what the opportunity is in the creative economy and why impact investors should care. We've written some white papers, we're doing a lot of outreach and conversation, so we're trying to make the case to impact investors and frankly to artists who've made wealth, to arts patrons and art collectors who may not yet know about impact investing. We think this may be a way in for them to learn and start to participate as impact investors. The second step is we're looking to build the coalition of investors who want to understand how they can do well and do good and support creativity and innovation. Creative people solve problems, and so investing in the creative economy is both practical and symbolic in terms of our ability to solve all the problems and seize the opportunities that are in front of us. So in 2018, we're going to be leading a study group for impact investors who want to dig in and understand more what the opportunities are in the creative economy. And the third part of the playbook is to make sure that there are investable opportunities in the marketplace so that when the impact investor says, yes, I get it, I want to be active in the creative economy, have that be part of my impact portfolio, we can show them a whole set of opportunities from things that are very focused through community development finance institutions, making good things happen in low-income communities, all the way up to impact real estate funds that are generating 22% returns. So we're helping some of those opportunities come to the market, and we're landscaping and showcasing what's already out there.
Thank you. Mary Stuart, can you tell us about Stockade works and how you fit in with that landscape that Laura just laid out?
So I moved to the Hudson Valley from Brooklyn with 4 tiny children almost 5 years ago because I just couldn't be in the city anymore. And I got up there, and it's a beautiful place and a great place to live, but I realized that, wow, what if I could work where I live? Is that asking too much? And I looked around and I realized that the region of the Hudson Valley had been really overlooked as an area where film and television production could flourish on a big scale. And so I started to dig into why not, and went about trying to solve maybe remove some of the obstacles to production. And then in working on that, I realized that there was also this huge asset of displaced workers or workers who had maybe no access at all to the arts, specifically film and television. And I realized I really wanted to create a studio that addresses the need for access and inclusion and the need to grow the local workforce by training the local people through their vocational schools and through the colleges, community colleges, and our own programs to be that whole 80% of a crew that is called below the line, that are those blue-collar jobs, that are the electricians and the carpenters and the drivers and the people who are all makers who represent 80% of a budget. So I thought, well, if we get that crew base built up through training the local workforce, instead of just bringing the circus to town and sitting down on top of a blighted city and exploiting, in other words, and being the sort of, what do you call it, colonialist kind of coming in and conquering, we could use the assets that are there and develop them and grow deep roots in the Hudson Valley for a future that's very bright in terms of real durable futures for people who are already there and need an opportunity. So Stockade Works was founded as a nonprofit, but I always had an eye to the bigger vision, including sound stages, content production, an actual studio that's a B Corp. And because I really feel like that's the way to bake into the organization or the corporation all those values that I hold dear, that has to do with doing things a little bit better, and that has to do with access and inclusion and working with the local people and giving them opportunities and hiring them and then mentoring them and then promoting them from within, but also sustainability from an environmental perspective, because though film and television production is classified as light manufacturing, it can be wasteful, and I think across the board, all entertainment companies are aware that in the facilities they have lights. The lights should be LED. That'll save 80% in energy consumption, and there's a long list of ways that we can green production at the same time. So, but that all is something that's hard to tell, your shareholders if it's not baked in. And so this is why it's the perfect solution for us to both green production and create an access and inclusion aspect to our training and making the workforce that is production not just at the Academy Awards grabbing statues, but the very 80% of the people who make films and televisions should be every color, every gender, and everything in between. Should be returning wounded veterans who are, working at computers. It should be everyone. So we're providing access, training, mentorship, and also trying to build this economy in a better way.
And you're saying that Stockade Studios is a B Corp within Stockade Works, which is a nonprofit?
The nonprofit exists, and the B Corp is being formed.
Can you
to
tell me a
deal
little
with
bit
the larger investment opportunity?
Yeah, just tell me a little bit about what the different structures have offered you and why you opted for the B Corp for the studios.
Well, I think people are familiar with, movies cost a lot of money. There's a big upside. There's a big downside. It's traditionally investing in slates of film financing is always a very it's not for the risk averse, let's say. And studios that you have a facility that requires a big lift to build facilities, and so maybe the conscience of training people and going to the community college and digging in that sense isn't necessarily, those don't necessarily have to be in the same place entirely, but there is an overlap. The circles definitely overlap, and the training will be the engine that brings in outside production to those facilities. So there's an ecosystem we're building, and the nonprofit is sort of getting the wheels turning and is doing the due diligence of being in the community and building from within the community and the schools that exist there. And also there are grant opportunities that frankly are a very good fit with training and that are not available if you're not a nonprofit. So it is a piece of what we're doing, but the larger goal involves facilities, and actual productions, and those things fit more into a traditional for-profit model, but we want to do it through a B Corp in order to bake in these better values.
Can you tell me a bit about how this fits in with the kind of overall growth the region is seeing, public initiatives that are supporting these kinds of projects, and just the impact it's having on that broader ecosystem for Kingston, for the Hudson Valley, and the other towns around there?
Well, yes. I mean, I think the area is definitely getting a hard look from everyone, and Kingston is known as Brooklyn North. But I don't even live there. But it is a place. There's a lot of opportunity there, and a lot of people are looking at it. A lot of artisans and makers and and so forth. Co-working has come to the Hudson Valley, so that's pretty big. But I guess to answer your question, the relationship between I think it's something that can come to any town. Mm-hmm. The whole idea that the small town can, benefit from these kinds of opportunities is really what we're banking on. And other regions are looking at us as a model for how they can bring, the film economy to their own town. And because there's a proven multiplier effect when you have a television show, for example, sit down in your town. It might be there for 6 years and employ 150 to 250 people year round, and everywhere they go, there's revenue.
You were saying to me before how many TV shows are just being made in the U.S. each year.
Exactly. Just last year, 420 television shows are being produced in North America, or being generated from North America, I should say. Not all of them were filmed in North America at all, and not all of them were filmed in the U.S. But out of those, after last year, they're estimating this next year, 500 TV shows are going to be in production, and they got to go somewhere. So right now, New York City is experiencing an unprecedented boom because they have this amazing tax program, incentive program, and it's 30% for the city, and we won an extra 10% for our region, so it's 40% fully refundable tax credit for production. So that's tremendous incentive, but there's only so many TV shows that can be in New York City, and there's only so many that can be in Los Angeles. So to compete with runaway production to Canada, we would like to onshore a lot of that business to the Hudson Valley. And also Georgia is a good example of a place that has had a tremendous increase in film and television. They went in 2008 from $250 million of local economic impact from film and television to $7 billion in 2016. Wow. And that's because the governor has implemented a tax program, the universities and schools created degree programs, and the facilities were invested in a big way. And when that happens, people come. It's not just the building. It's not if you build it, they will come. It's if you build the ecosystem, they will come and they will stay. And that's why our focus is television, because we know that A, there's an opportunity, and B, television usually lasts longer than a movie, mm-hmm. and so has an incentive to want to use the local resources instead of bring them in for short periods of time. So that's what we're looking at, and that's what we're building in the Hudson Valley. But Hudson Valley is very cool, I have to say. It's a great place to live. People want to live and work in the same place.
And frankly, this is reflective of what cities and states across the United States are recognizing. The mayors and the governors are commissioning creative economy plans because they understand that the future of jobs and the future of community wealth building is going to be connected to the creative economy. We're not an agrarian economy in the United States. We're not a manufacturing economy anymore in the United States. We're an ideas economy, which means we're a creative economy. So the reason that there is a tax incentive, the reason that there is an economic development grant coming to Kingston of $10 million and to other parts of the upstate portion of New York is because the governor, the legislature in New York, just like in other states, just in cities, like in cities around the country, they're realizing that that's how they can invest in the future of their region. And obviously, government can provide some incentives. They can create opportunities. Some of the institutions, like the universities, can invest in training the workforce for the future. But there's also a role that private investment needs to play. And this is an opportunity to ensure that we're shaping a creative economy that's the future that we want to live in by infusing the values that impact investment capital brings and marrying that with companies that have formed themselves as social purpose businesses, as B corporations, to be the right place, the right match for that capital to land. So as the creative economy continues to grow, values that we care about around inclusion and equity and sustainability, those values will grow as well.
I'm going to go to Laura with one more question, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience for other questions, so start thinking. I just wanted to hear about some other examples around the country of specific projects where you've seen that kind of ecosystem effect, where there's changes in the community as a result of the one project.
Absolutely, and since B Corps and social purpose businesses are a big focus, I'll also describe a few others in the creative economy that we've been tracking that we think are great. So in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I don't know how many people here have heard of Meow Wolf yet. How cool. Okay, I always knew Lorelei was cool, so a few hands have heard about Meow Wolf.
I've heard of that.
So in Santa Fe, Meow Wolf is the product of 140 artists and artisans getting together. They took over an abandoned bowling alley and they turned it into this immersive funhouse performance live experience. So that sounds interesting, right? Kind of curious, sort of cool. This is the most Instagram site in all of New Mexico. Think of all of the natural wonders, right? Something that artists have created are gathering more people. It's the most Instagram site in all of New Mexico. 400,000 unique visitors last year. They did $1 million out of merchandise from the gift shop alone last year, and they are now raising $20 million of impact investing capital to expand to 4 or 5 additional cities. They are a B corporation, and not only are they creating quality jobs for the 140 artists who have been part of this cooperative effort, but they have brought in tremendous tax revenues, tremendous tourism dollars and tax opportunities and knock-on positive benefits for the economy and for jobs to their region because they built something fantastic that people wanted to come and be part of. So that's a great example of creative economy using the form of a B corporation that is bringing a lot of life, energy, opportunity for creative people and for their neighbors into an area here. The example is in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Cool. All right, going to the audience, right there.
I don't think I need a mic.
I think.
Okay. Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Nino. I'm an Atlas Core Fellow. I serve at Pixera Global. So a little bit of my experience in Tunisia as I helped creative hubs establish in the western part of the country that are like extremist infested. But these creative businesses, of course, they're social, they're successful, but they're not financially sustainable because they rely on grants. So what are the innovations that you've seen, and what are examples of that that Tunisia or other countries can benefit from this?
So I would say if a business is relying on grants, it's not a business. It may be a revenue-generating social enterprise, a subsidiary of a nonprofit, and there's a place for that, and perhaps that effort or those efforts will mature and will be more self-sustaining and will be in a position that they are true businesses and they attract investment capital. But I think one of the confusions that happens a lot in the social innovation space when we have an impact investing conversation, and also when we're having an arts, culture, creativity conversation, is these things get very gray and messy and sort of mixed up early on. And so I think it's important for people to follow the types of models that Stockade Studios and Stockade Works are showcasing, which is to be distinct and clear about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what's the right sort of capital to support your work. Mary Stuart was very eloquent about saying some of the work that we're doing is going to require subsidy. It's around training. It's around our community-facing piece of our activity, which would be a drag on our returns to investors. So we're going to have the production studio in a true business form, but it's going to be a certain kind of business. It's going to be a socially focused business. So we want that to be a B corporation to signal to investors what they should expect and what they should demand from how this company is going to perform. So I think when we have these conversations, it's important to be clear about goals and then the right way to reach those goals, and be clear about anyone you have a financial relationship with, what the true financial opportunity is.
Good answer.
Right here. Hi. Hi, my name is Judith Regis. I am with Inclusivists. I work at the intersection of storytelling, innovation, entrepreneurship, and fundraising. My question for you is, can you talk about what is the relationship between charity in the arts and impact investing? Outside universities and the religious sector, the arts get a significant portion of charity funding. So how is your work around impact investing linking that sort of funding to the arts?
So, can I start on this one?
Yeah, that's a good,
So
yeah.
the arts get 5% of philanthropy in the United States, and that number has stagnated. It's not grown in the last half dozen years or so. So 5% of total philanthropy in the United States is close to $20 billion. Total philanthropy in the US is about $390 billion a year, okay? That's billions. Impact investing, ESG, social screening, socially responsible investing,
ESG is
environmental social governance companies that are focused on those things, all that sort of investing, that is $8.7 trillion in the United States. So billions, trillions. The reason that I think it's important for arts, culture, creativity, heritage to get in the game of impact investing is because, in the words of the great bank robber Willie Sutton, that's where the money is.
Yeah, what she said. It's true. I mean, I think, get back to Kingston as the site of where we're doing our work first. We plan to expand region-wide in the Hudson Valley, but the site in Kingston is a good example because this is a neighborhood that's had a lot of problems, and they're afraid of gentrification, and we're afraid of gentrification as well. And we want to make sure that the people who live there are not only brought in, we reach in. We don't just open the doors and say, well, you didn't walk through the door. We go in and we join their community. We figure out how to involve them in what we're doing, train people, mentor them, hire them, and then they have a stake, you know, and they have a future. And I think that has a lot to do with what you're saying, that get a piece of the action, you know, because that's the future. For that's really taking what is your portion of that mission, and I think that should be rewarded in more than just, you know, your sweat capital and met with philanthropy. That's all good, but if there's a way to monetize something for yourself, go for it, you know, and that should be yours. That shouldn't be someone else's.
All right.
Hi, my name is Manny Giraldo. I'm here from the DC City Council. My first is a comment for Mary. Prior to going to law school, I worked in entertainment in LA, and being on set, there was probably only a handful of minorities, so I really hope that Stockade can make that push to be more all-inclusive. Also, regarding the creative economy, here in DC, what we're seeing is that because of gentrification, a lot of areas that once had a booming art scene that has dwindled. U Street, for example, which is one time was the Black Broadway, most of the live music clubs have closed because the rent is either too high or they lost their lease for some reason. So places like art galleries, or dance studios, or live music clubs, how do they operate now in a time where rents are increasing and the cost of living is so great for artists?
That's a great question. I know that LISC has done good things around that too, but yeah, I think part of why we wanted to have a physical stake in the community and a place where people could go is for that reason. And that is also why that is in part being developed by a nonprofit developer, because we can sort of deal with that issue of gentrification. We can say, well, we have to be here. There's a mission to being here, and the mission is to further the potential of film and television in the Hudson Valley, and also to create wealth opportunities for this community that literally lives next door to this building. And so because that was the way we baked it in to that venture. But when we talk in the 20s and 30s of millions of dollars we're going to raise for content and for film production and for larger scale facilities, then we need our B Corp. But that's an important thing you're talking about. I think that's in every small town that can have these big opportunities, and you know, the fear is that the people who live there and have been at the front line of a community are the ones that get left out, and that can't happen.
We are out of time, but thank you so much, both of you. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you to the audience.